time. Of course, we sit in February here mid-snowstorm and everybody's amazed that we're actually talking about pesticide use on lawn care, but it's the perfect time because we have to keep it on the burner, and because we know that there's an election year, this is an election year, we have to put the pressure on. So I think the most active way, we have almost with a complete majority, the City of St. John's basically has pushed forward, but we can't, legally, there's nothing more that can be done unless we actually change the legislation. And since we have such a great amount of support from MNL, the City of Mount Pearl, and other areas, I mean, MNL, represents, of course, the entire province, that is where the weight comes from. And so the support of people like our MHAs right here, like Lorraine Michael, and people like that who can speak on our behalf will help us, I'm certain of that, bring it forward. But we need to just keep it topical. And this is an election year. Politics is what politics is. This is the time where you have to make a lot of noise. And I would like to see some other creative ways about doing it. And I think that we can, but really the thing is about activating the media, keeping the letters going, putting the pressure on. We're way behind the 8 ball on this thing. Ontario, Quebec, and all the Maritimes have done it, and we need to make the government almost embarrassed that they've taken so long to do this. So that's how I personally feel about it.
I won't repeat what Councillor O'Leary said for the City of St. John's, but it's certainly on my agenda. But I do believe in the power of a voice, and the more people that stand up and be heard, and is heard, and the chances are you will get heard. As you can tell, MNL is very active in pursuing this since it came to a resolution in 2009. So from that end of it, it's going to be heard, because as Councillor O'Leary alluded to, this is every municipality, well, just about every municipality in Newfoundland and Labrador, and they are joining together unanimously. There was no one that voted against this resolution, and the fact that we are lobbying, and the fact that I'm going to be Director of Communications is one on my platform as well, but nothing beats the power of the people. And where you guys, like Councillor O'Leary said, it's the middle of February and you've all braved the storm and you're all here. Well, not a big storm, but we're here, right? And the fact that we're keeping it active, and I know the group, the coalition, some of them I know personally, and they're very active. Like, they let it go. How long have you been around, Paul? 12, 13 years. Now that's dedication, right? So, I mean, we do need to come together, and the more that sign the petition, and the more that get heard, and the more that brings this to the forefront, the better chances. And as councillors, we're going to do the best we can. As you can tell, there's 4 or 5 councillors here in the room today. So we do, and we do share a common goal, and that is to ban pesticides.
Just have a short comment. I mean, there is a plan B. Pesticide bans across Canada were originally municipal bans. I mean, all the original bans were in cities. But the problem with Plan B here in Newfoundland is that municipalities, the province has municipalities sort of in a bind, because they're, according to the Municipalities Act in Newfoundland, municipalities are not allowed to act individually. So the province won't ban pesticides provincially, and it won't allow municipalities to ban them individually, because the act has to be changed in order for them to do that. So even Plan B, if that was the way to go. Now, of course, municipalities, NL doesn't want it to be that way. They would prefer that the ban would cover the entire province, and that is certainly the best approach. But the Plan B could work if the municipalities had the power to enact it, but they don't.
Well, I love your license plate idea.
Good evening. Hi. My name is Lori Lehman. I'm a certified horticulturist technician. I've been in the industry for 22 years. And I'm nothing against ban. As a business person, we're there to fill a need. If the need changes, so does the business. There's just a couple of things I'd like to bring to our attention while thinking about a ban. And we are trying to, industry is trying to meet with the Department of Farm as well, and we can't get a meeting either, so they're not all there. First is we have to watch alternatives to pesticide. What are these alternatives that we are using? Are they hurting the environment as well? As you mentioned before about BTK with the caterpillars in the trees, we have to even look into these alternatives as well, okay? It just can't be the answer to pesticide ban. That has to be considered. There's many products out there that seem like they're the lifesaver, but they're not. For example, corn gluten. Corn gluten might be used for weed control. However, number one, it's very expensive. Number two, you have to put a lot down, very high dosage. Number three, it only kills or stops new weeds from germinating. It don't get rid of what's already existing. And it also stops grass seed from germinating. So, I mean, you have to really consider these alternatives before we think that they're the end all of everything. Another thing that we should really consider is how is this going to be policed? For example, the elm spanworm, all the trees in town that have been plugged, that they were done illegally. You cannot use ACE-CAD plug in trees. That was not policed. Everybody knows somebody who's plugged a tree. Our 6-inch topsoil bylaw, municipalities have. That is not watched. Okay? There has to be a means of policing all this as well. You just can't say ban it and then run away and think that's the end of it. There's a lot of details that have to be considered. And I just want to let that.
I just address that. I think you make a very good point. But if you look at other legislation, you look at seat belts, you look at smoking bans, cell phones, lots of these things are not heavily policed. And what we've learned is that actually, if you pass these laws, that most people will abide by them, and you don't have to police them, because that's always been an issue. Well, how are we going to police this? In fact, you don't need to. A good example is smoking in front of our hospitals or on hospital properties now. Even though there are Memorial University enforcement officers in front of the health sciences directing traffic and giving you tickets for parking, they don't really enforce the smoking ban, which I think is unfortunate, but as it turns out, they don't need to. Yes, there's still people sort of hiding behind the cars in the parking lot having a cigarette. But compared to last year, it's exponentially better without any policing. So it is something to think about, but in fact, once you enact these legislations, and if there's a phased-in approach, and education is very, very important. You raised a very good point about the BTK, and the other thing is we're not here tonight to say let's be the first place in Canada to enact a pesticide ban. We have lots of experience from biggest provinces, from our neighbors in the Maritimes, from many municipalities, and we can learn from that. The issue regarding BTK is interesting. What they did in Pennsylvania, they found the same thing that you're finding, is that BTK is actually killing some of the things that may help to control the spanworm. So there's a tiny little insect which actually eats the eggs of the spanworm, and the BTK kills that. And when you actually take that little insect, which is found in Newfoundland, and you actually increase its population, after 3 or 4 years, what you will see is that the spanworm population is controlled, and that's been the experience in parts of Pennsylvania. So we need the public consultation with horticulturalists and people from the university, and what we talk about here is what should be banned and what should not. This is the details that need to be discussed, but without an actual meeting with the landscapers and the people advocating for a ban, unless we can meet with the government actually talking about what we should and should not ban, we can't go forward.
That insect that supposedly kills the elm spanworm is a parasitic wasp, and they were doing tests here to find it. They can't find it here in Newfoundland. It wasn't here in any significant number.
This is not a parasitic wasp, this is a microscopic one.
Yeah. And I know the government here was doing tests trying to find that insect there, but they couldn't find it.
Yeah.
They had no significant number to do anything.
Yeah. So what you have to do is actually increase the population of that, which is what they did in Pennsylvania. But it's just an example of